Hudson and Scotty B need a therapist.
Especially today, right?
You know, I have no idea where this episode is going to go today because I'm really dealing with a lot, as both of you know. I mean, it happened so quickly yesterday. I was let go of my job of 30 years out of nowhere, and it's really, really difficult.
Yeah, what are you feeling?
I'm 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 crushed. My heart feels broken because I don't know. I love what I do more than anything in the world. I know, Scotty, you know that because you were my partner for 20 years, 20 plus years. But for me, it's the connection and the positivity that I can bring to other people and change their day. Gives me the most ultimate high on the planet. And um, that feeling that I can't do that anymore, something that I love so much, that just ripped away. And it hurts probably more than I think. Uh, it hurts so much because I left my full-time job, right? Because they weren't paying me enough money to live in Los Angeles any longer. And it hurts so bad. It hurts so bad leaving everybody behind, my friends, the dream house that I renovated, but I had to do what I had to do. But I still wanted to be on the radio in Los Angeles with the connections that I've made and the friends that I've had. And I was doing it at such a minimal amount that it's embarrassing. And you know what? This podcast is real and authentic. And I'm just going to tell you, and I'm probably going to blow your mind when I tell you, I was working Monday through Friday, hosting on one station every night and weekends on Star, and I was making under $8,000 a year.
Hmm.
I want you to think about that. Less than $25 to do a radio show. And I am a seasoned radio broadcaster. And
Well,
I'm not,
this is something for people that don't know. This is the industry as a whole has gone through a lot since we were doing what we did in Hawaii,
yeah.
and it's become less about the individual personalities and the interactions with the audience, and that doesn't matter to them anymore, in my opinion. What matters is that you'll be a mouthpiece. You'll do the company thing. You'll do your social media. We talked about that before.
Yeah.
And what they'll do is if they keep you, your gratitude for your job should be enough. Because no doubt when they let
Oh,
other people
yeah.
go, you end up with more duties on you.
Right.
And so it really was a business that had become completely not fun. And I've been away for about a year now and do not miss it, to be honest with you. I wouldn't go back unless it was an individually owned private company that allowed you to be a personality again.
I don't think any of those exist. Yeah, Alan?
I was just going to say one of the things that I always admired about the passion that you put into that show, Hudson, and just to be clear, to piggyback off what you're saying on the money, in California, a Jack in the Box fast food worker makes over $25 an hour. So just to be clear, this is a 4 hour radio show that we're talking about for $25. That's what they feel it's worth. But when I would see the preparation that Hudson would put in for these shows, the time that she would take of researching, even with the limitations that you're talking about, Scotty, that she had to do for the company, she would find a way to tell a story about every song. She would find a way to personalize something about a listener or bring them up in a break. She would always find a way to be herself within those limited confines of what radio was becoming, which was less and less freedom to just talk. I know in San Francisco, they always let her talk. And that was awesome. They really loved her there and they just let her
My
go.
boss in San Francisco, I am going to miss dearly. He was one of a kind. Honestly, I had it. You always tell him, don't compliment me because I can't handle it. Because he would say the nicest things, like when he would seg my shows and hear my breaks, and it was genuine. He didn't have to reach out and go, Huds, just phenomenal. And just,
You never called it in. You never said, well, this is what they're paying me, so this is what they get. You gave them $1 million for their dollar. And I think that's something that at the price that they had you for a year, it's shocking.
And to be clear, it wasn't always this way. There's
No,
been decent money coming in, and
Mhm.
we've done well for ourselves through the years. But as the industry changed, and I think something that people don't know about radio, and I hope you don't mind if I pull the blinds back, but when Hudson talks about a 4 hour show and that amount of money, it's not because she's sitting in a studio for that amount of time, because then you would go, well, she's not even making minimum wage. How can they be allowed to do that? Well, what they did was they allowed you to record your show ahead of time, voice tracking, it's called, and you put all your personality into those breaks, but you're able to do one after the other. And instead of waiting for the two songs to play before you talk. So that's why they're able to cut it down and say you should be able to do a 4 hour show in an hour.
1 hour, correct.
Yeah.
And even with, yeah. And so, I was okay being here. I really didn't accept the fact that
And
I
and by the way, being here means the North Carolina move for those who are new to the
correct.
show.
Again, because I couldn't afford to live in Los Angeles because of my salary, but there was no way in hell, even if I was making $5, I would have given it up. It's because of that connection that I have made with my followers and listeners. They're my friends. And I know that sounds so crazy, right? To somebody you're thinking, oh, just social media for no. I would respond to every single person who would reach out to me and message me. And I would talk to you. And I know about everybody's lives, their families, the things that they've gone through over the years. And so I couldn't put a price on that, and what that's worth to me, but to me, that's worth everything. Building this community that we've had for the love of music and friendships, and that was authentic.
You know, I'm sorry, Hudson. I can see that you're just, I mean, this is killing you. And I
And
think
I think it's because I was doing it for nothing.
but
I
that's the
mean,
thing that they
all
don't
the things,
understand at your
all the
company.
things.
I've been out with Hudson so many times in Los Angeles. She never sat behind the velvet rope with the types of people of like it's the us and them. We're the staff, we're the radio people, we're the musicians. We all sit behind the red rope and get free drinks, and then the others sit on the other side of a show that we gave away tickets to. Hudson was there with the fans. She was always there by the stage. She was always taking selfies with this person. She knew their kids' names. She would bring them extra clothes in the wintertime if they didn't have jackets for their kids. She would give them a lot of things. I remember there were so many things. Your fans would give you, whether it was food, whether you were giving them things. It was amazing. It was more, there was so much value besides the radio aspect of things. And I wish companies could understand that because in a marketplace like Los Angeles, where there's two stations, Alt and K Rock, that play the exact same format, what's the difference? It's the people. It's the connections because they're playing the exact same freaking music, those two stations in Los Angeles. And Hudson was killing K Rock. Hudson is probably killing the weekends. And every time she probably filled in during the week in Los Angeles, she probably demolished the ratings. And yet, for what reason? For like, Hudson didn't do her show in 1 hour, like you said, Scotty. Hudson
Hmm.
put time into that show. She researched it. She would do break and then redo it and redo it and redo it because she wanted it to be perfect. She wanted it to be a perfect radio show every time because that's who Hudson is. And so no matter how little they paid her, she was always going to do that. She was never going to half-ass it. And so to see a company think so little of 30 years.
I'm going to say this, and I know it doesn't feel that way right now. I feel better when the show that I was doing came to an end. I just felt like, because like you said, it's the only thing we've ever done. I felt, who am I without that in my life? And I'm sure there's some of that you have to deal with. It's a lot like a breakup. That's what was going to be our big topic
Right. That was
today.
supposed to be our topic today is breaking up, and that's
Yeah.
what it feels
And so
like.
there's different stages, I'm guessing, Alan. I mean, what are some of the things that people feel when they go through I don't know, a dramatic change like this that she can expect, and that is somebody who's going through maybe a breakup or even a job ending or any other situation like that? What are some of those stages?
And it's interesting because I use the five stages of grief a lot in therapy, not just to describe death. I think that's how they were developed initially. And then you can look at it as career death. You could look at it as death of a location if you move. You could look at it as death of a friendship, death of a marriage. There's a lot of different things that people will attribute to the stages of grief. But I think the first one is always denial. I think that's the one that people want to sort of get over because there's this part of them that just can't keep putting the wires separate. They keep connecting and wondering why we're going in a loop because they can't accept the fact that life has changed. Hudson has had an amazing skill set, and she didn't let it go when she moved to North Carolina because she loved it. She would have done it for free. But at this point, there's this step of I'm not going to do radio anymore. And maybe you will, maybe you won't, but it's getting to that place of knowing that and not being in denial that I'll just get another job or I'm going to go at a K Rock or they're going to come back and they're gonna hire me or they're going to listen to this podcast and realize, oh my God, I was making them so much money. I never took sick days. I never took vacation days. I was always concerned about the book. I was always concerned about promoting everybody's shows. She went to every other DJ's promotions. They didn't come to hers. She promoted everything for that station, even with things that she wasn't involved with. They would say, "Hey, can you put it on your social?" Because she had the biggest social media, and she did. She did everything they asked her to do. It cost us at times. We could have gone away for weekends, but she couldn't miss a day because it would affect the book, the ratings. That's what it means to be in radio. So there's a denial in the sense of like maybe I'll still do radio, maybe I'll try to find local, I'll keep applying. The next stage would be bargaining in the stages of grief. And that's when you start to think about, well, what if I did this differently? What if I offered them this? What if I could still try to put these pieces together? I could fix it. I could glue it. I could, get some crazy glue and try to see if I can still be on the radio. Maybe I could still work for iHeart. That's the bargaining stage. And then after that would be anger. Anger at the fact that you realize there is no bargaining. You can't deny what happened. It's real. This is your life today. And you have a right to be angry. And I think a lot of people will hit that mark in the stages of grief. And then anger will turn to depression because anger and depression are very similar emotions. Sometimes it goes outwards towards others, and sometimes it goes inwards towards ourselves and how we feel about ourselves. And she'll feel a sense of identity crisis, low self-worth, because she got so much validation for what she did from bands, from fans, from listeners, from anyone, from even her boss at the time. Once in a while, she would say nice things. And that part of it is going to also hit into depression. But the good thing about the stages of grief is that it lasts approximately 6 months. And I think that's how long it takes a person to get to acceptance of this is my life now. I'm not going to be married to this person anymore. I'm not going to do this job anymore. I wasn't always a therapist. When I used to be a writer and I worked in entertainment years ago. And when I left that field of dreaming about being a movie director, and I had even had a screenplay that was optioned, and I really thought I was going to make it in that field. And getting to that place of the stages of grief to realize, you know what? I'm going to do something else. And I've never looked back on being a therapist for 30 years now as a bad thing. Well, not 30 years, almost 30 years. Because I still took the same skills and creativity and artistry, except I did it with people instead of words. And no one could see it. No one could appreciate it because therapy is a very personal thing. Because only me and the client know unless they choose to share it on Yelp or Google or tell their friends or something, or maybe even tell me. And sometimes they do. Sometimes they send cards and stuff. But for the most part, it's a very personal thing. But I found my artistry and mastery in that. I found my creativity in that. And that became who I am. I don't look back on the entertainment industry now and think, oh my God, I wish I was a film director because I've had them as clients and I know what it's like to work in those industries. And I know how disposable you can be in those industries. And I don't feel bad about it. It's hard to get to that 6 month period. And sometimes it takes longer for people.
So do you think it's not as cut and dry as one thing leads to another, that there can be a mixture? What I'm saying? There's all the different steps, but it doesn't necessarily fall in that order.
No, of course not. These steps are the healthiest steps and probably the most common steps towards reaching the conclusion that where I stand today is where I stand. And I can't go backwards. I can't put the past back together again.
Where does the why did this happen to me? Where does that fit in there?
I would think the denial and the bargaining, those two,
Mm,
because I think
mm.
in that situation, it doesn't make sense to you. And, why is this person breaking up with me? Why is this company letting me go? I'm only making, whatever it is, there's that denial and that bargaining of like, well, maybe what if I changed? Will they take me back? What if I did less of this in this relationship? Would that fix it?
One of the pieces of advice that, not necessarily great pieces of advice that people will give others when they go through a breakup with a person is go find that next person. But I say you need to find yourself. And I feel like it's the same in this situation as well, because you can run to the thing you know, but maybe this is your chance
Well,
to discover and maybe pursue something that is also could be a passion of yours.
my therapist this morning, I went to go see my therapist at 8:30 in the morning, and I'm very glad that I did because I'm in a better headspace. And I thought this was interesting too. On our last episode, I had mentioned that on Sunday, Alan and I had gone to a street fair and I had a chance to hold baby monkeys, which was a very life-changing moment for me because it's something that I have dreamed of my entire life. It was a very strange thing that had happened, and I couldn't understand, and I felt like something was weird. And then it was the day after that my boss had said, I need to talk with you. I'm going to call you at 11 o'clock your time. And I was like, okay. I said, what's up? No response. I was like, all right. Didn't expect that. But what my therapist had said is, she's like, you got to look at all of these signs. Your dream was to work on that radio station. That was your number one dream. You wanted to be in Los Angeles on Alt 98.7, and you did that. You always wanted to hold a monkey your entire life. You have done that now. That means there's something else. What is it? And she started going down the things that I'm really great at. Look around, get out. This is something that she had expressed to me is, and again, I say this to anyone who might be struggling and going through something, not the same, but in a similar way. Maybe you've lost your job, maybe you've lost a partner, whatever that thing is. She encouraged me to go out and keep my eyes open. What moves me? What excites me? Because if there's one thing, I will tell you this, and this is not to be, I'm not trying to brag, but if I'm going to do something, I'm going to do it better than anyone. And that's always been my mindset. And if I say I'm going to do it, I do it. I remember 3 years ago when I said, I'm going to lose weight. I had gotten an email from my dad showing me photos of me when I was always thin. And he told me that I'm too pretty to be fat. And it hit me so hard. And that was it. It was the next day I bought the treadmill and I've been doing my thing for 3 years now. I weigh 117 pounds. I think that I have to close that chapter at least with the company that I dedicated 30 years of my life to. And I have to be open to other things and things that excite me. And nothing is exciting me right now. So, I mean, I'm just talking out loud, doing a podcast with my two best friends and sharing this with you so that you understand where I'm at.
When I did my separation from broadcast radio, which is all I'd known since I was 16, I did the same thing, and no one told me, but I just kept telling people. They said, "What are you doing right now?" And I said, "I'm listening and I'm looking." And when people came to me and said, "Hey, have you ever thought of da da da?" I go, "No. What's that about?" And I just opened myself up for the first time, really, because I always had in mind, whatever you're saying, that's going to be a side thing. But now I have all of this time. What do I really want to do with it? And I built the home studio and I started doing things here, and one thing can lead to another, can lead to another. But I think it always in my mind, I was always thinking the next radio job. And when I stopped thinking that it really did open up the world to me. And as you said, you've done so much. And as somebody said to me, actually, I'll tell you who it was. It was Patty from Hawaii, Milburn. And she said, you should be very proud of your career. You should just take a moment and just be so proud. And I think it was one of those moments I hadn't given myself, because when you go through a change, you just feel like a failure. You feel like something happened, something wrong. I did something wrong. No, you're great, and you should be very proud.
Well, thank you, Scotty. Thanks for saying that. It's so emotional just to sometimes right now get the words out of what I want to say, and I'm a broadcaster, but I just have so many emotions. I don't want to lose my friendships that I've built, and I feel like so many of those people, like I have a friend right now, Alex Cazares. I know you're probably listening to this podcast. This dude has had 26 brain surgeries, 26. I've been with them through all of them.
Yeah.
I have to uplift my friends and keep them positive. I still have to do that.
You know,
I
I
don't know how to do it.
I've said this to you before, Hudson, and I've said this to probably my therapist and to other people as well, but life is really like a book, and it's a book of chapters. And, if you use our age to look at the three act structure of movies or television or books or whatever, but it's a story of sorts. And we've all had different things that have pivoted us in different ways. And for a lot of people listening, maybe it was COVID. That changed a lot of people's careers and how they work. Maybe they work from home now. Maybe they go to the office. Maybe they're hybrid. I know for me, going into the SAG building every day was a weird feeling, getting my coffee at Starbucks, running into famous actors at the SAG building, having, celebrities or musicians or actors or sports people sitting across from me in my little office in the SAG building. And then COVID came along and everything went remote. And it's not like I don't see those people anymore, but it's not like they're coming into my office and the waiting room and all the other kind of stuff that it used to be. It's different. And I've learned to embrace it because it gave me freedom. It gave me freedom to see my kids more. No more commutes to the office anymore. It gave me the freedom to move to North Carolina and be living a third of the price in one of the most beautiful areas and number one destinations of the entire country right now. And none of that would have happened had COVID not knocked out that other aspect of my career. And I'm grateful for where I am today and that people call me and I still get to work at my own hours and all of those things that changed. But, I think we all have to look at life as chapters, whether it's our relationships, whether it's their times with our kids, whether it's friendships that we've had that have dissipated, whether it's our parents maybe who aren't with us anymore, but they were with us for chapter 22, when we really needed them. There's a lot of wonderful things in a life that make it very rich. And for someone like Hudson, and not to just be a cheerleader here, you're talking about someone who won Hawaii, who won being a model. A lot of people don't know that about her when she was younger. She won Los Angeles. She was number one all the time. She met every single artist she was probably a fan of multiple times and got to hang out with a lot of them. And no one can ever take that away from her in those chapters. Where she is now, boating, North Carolina, potentially running this cool social club and doing all these other cool things that she's going to do here. And there's always opportunities. It's all there. Her skill set's still there. It's just not going to go through that format anymore. And I think that's sort of the hard thing for us to understand is that we don't have to lose our full identity, Scotty, and redo everything. But it is a book and things morph into other things. And sometimes that's for the best. Like hearing you say that, you don't even think about radio a year later. It was your identity and now you're happy. You're not doing a formula thing that somebody else is
You
dictating.
actually are really happy. This is
Yeah.
probably literally this last year that we've been doing this podcast together. How many episodes are we into right now?
Like 57, I think.
57.
Yeah.
This is the happiest that I've ever seen you.
Yeah.
So I think that you've found that peace, and I hope that I can get to that place. I will look for you for inspiration.
You will. You will. Well, thanks for sharing. I mean, I know it was a very personal thing that you shared, and it's not the easiest thing to do, but I think that's an inspiration as well for anybody who's gone through something or is going through something. Chapters, I like that. Or
Yeah, I like the
seasons,
chapters too. I like the chapters.
Well, in
whichever
chapters,
way.
no one could take it away from you. There was the chapter you were a parent. There was the chapter that you traveled to this place. There was the chapter that you were top of the world in this field, or you had the pinnacle of your favorite restaurant, or whatever it was. You got to go and eat that food that you've always dreamed of. I think to me, it's a very rich life if we choose to view it that way. But trying to go back and take old chapters and make them new chapters is hard. And I think sometimes it's foolish because sometimes the new chapters are what is meant to be, if that makes
I
sense.
think you're gonna love the next chapter, Hudson. I really do.
I have to find it first. I have to open the book.
Yes. Well, the
Yes.
book isn't written yet, Hudson. That's the fun part about it all, is that
Right.
you're in the third act and you've already had an amazing second act that everybody would look at that and say to themselves, wow. Wow, she was on stage with Muse doing this and that and hanging out with Monoskin doing interviews and all of those things. And that's just since I've known you. When I think about all this, the stories you've told me in Hawaii about you and Scotty hanging out with all these people and Jack Johnson and G Love and going out to the beach and surfing. And that's something that like I can't even imagine what it must have been like for the two of you to live in Hawaii. You had those chapters in your life. I never did. I'd love to have them towards the end of my life. Maybe I'll live in Hawaii one day. I'll be the end of my life book. But you guys had it all, and people should have gratitude. And it's not about trying to say just shut up and be happy. It's about acknowledging sometimes the trajectory of our lives and understanding that you weren't a failure. There are people who would kill to be standing where you stand right now, Hudson.
Thank you. Thank you for, getting me out of that funk. I mean, I really didn't plan on doing the podcast today because originally we were going to talk breakups and I thought, okay, I can talk breakup. I can talk about my breakup, with the radio station. But thank you. Thank you to both of you for sharing, Scotty, your personal experiences, and Alan, my therapist, always,
And
always,
husband, for
and
folks who don't
husband.
know.
Yeah, and husband, and just holding me up and with all the good information. Hudson and Scotty Beanie, the therapist. Thank you so much. Please like, subscribe. We're going to keep doing it because this is the only place you're going to hear my voice these days. Until next time, peace in the chicken grease.
See ya.
See you guys.